Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on Business Incorporated. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwagu. Today on the show, the World Bank projects 2% growth for Nigeria in 2019 and 2.1% for 2020 and 2021. Kenya Airways CEO says airline needs to maintain flexibility after nationalization. And South African Airways in talks over funding for shake-up. Let's get the show started now with the market. So it's the first trading day in the month of Christmas for most markets here on the African continent. However, at intraday, it was looking like the markets are not in the mood for a Santa Claus rally. Both the Nigerian market and the market in South Africa started the week negative. The NSE index was down 0.09% at intraday, while the JSE index was down 0.32%. Egypt was also down 0.90%. The Kenyan market closed the month of November positive on Friday. And in the Middle East, the Saudi Arabian stock market snapped a two-day rally to trade lower at intraday, pulled down by losses in banking shares, while Qatar was also down. Saudi Arabia's benchmark index fell 0.74%, with RG Bank shedding 0.8% and National Commercial Bank decreasing 0.7%. The Qatar's index traded low at 0.10%, with Gulf's largest lender, Qatar National Bank, losing 0.2%. Dubai and Abu Dhabi stock markets are closed for three-day public holiday and will resume trading on December 4. All right, in Europe, stocks were higher this morning as investors digested economic data and monitored ongoing trade talks between the world's two largest economies. For more from the European space, here is Chelsea. Hello, Chelsea. Good afternoon. Good to have you back on the show. All right, Chelsea, if you can hear me, the Eurozone manufacturing activity shrank for the 10th month in a row in November. What does Germany's PMI show?
The German PMI was actually better than expected. It's sort of it's the latest in a string of data that's indicating that the German manufacturing slowdown has really bottomed out. So the index remained in contraction for Germany. So it's not necessarily that the German manufacturing sector is growing, but the decline is starting to slow. So this also mirrors some of the more positive data we've seen out of Germany over the past couple of weeks, specifically with things like sentiment data. So a lot of manufacturing firms, a lot of industrial firms are pointing to more optimism about growth over the next several months or the next year. So I think this is just really showing that while the economy isn't really rebounding at this point, it does seem to be at least not contracting as fast as it was before.
Now, is the rest of the European countries interested in President Trump's visit in the UK ahead of the NATO summit and what he probably might say there?
There's certainly going to be a lot of attention on the NATO summit this week, especially here in Europe. The past two NATO summits have really brought a lot of drama and a lot of tension to the forefront between the U.S. and its European allies. At the last NATO summit, Donald Trump had said they might pull out of NATO if Europe doesn't spend more on the alliance. And the one before that, he declined to reaffirm the mutual aid provision of the NATO document. So there's really a lot of fear going into this that they don't really know what Trump is going to say. There has been some reduction in tensions over the past couple of weeks, in particular because Germany has said it will spend more on NATO over the next couple of years. It's been really heavily criticized by Donald Trump for not really pulling its weight. So they have committed to spending more of their budget on NATO. So I think that is a positive sign, but there's still going to be a lot of big questions, including over the NATO budget and other more defense and issues, things like the growth of China, things like that. So there's a lot of potential drama from this NATO meeting.
In corporate news, a report is suggesting that Qatar Airways is considering taking a stake in Germany's Lufthansa. Also, the U.S. Department of Justice is said to be stepping up its investigation into Deutsche Bank's role in the 200 billion euro Danske Bank money laundering scandal. How are these developments affecting the shares of these companies?
There hasn't been a dramatic impact on the stock price yet. Both of Deutsche Bank and Lufthansa were up a little bit earlier in the session. For Deutsche Bank, this is obviously the latest in a very long run of issues. They've already been fined by the US and the UK for another money laundering scandal. They're also in the midst of this huge transformation, cutting a lot of jobs, really refocusing their business. So another investigation would certainly come at a bad time. These reports also indicate that it's not just the US that's investigating these money laundering allegations. It's also prosecutors here in Frankfurt. So another regulatory issue would certainly come at a bad time for Deutsche Bank. For Lufthansa, they actually came out earlier today and shot down that report. They've basically said they aren't interested in an investment from Qatar Airlines. So I think that's sort of mitigating the impact on the stock today.
All right, Chelsea, thank you for updating us on those. Enjoy the rest of the day.